What? Just straight into it like that? Just bang? Where's the 2-minute, 3-minute short piece that I would usually pre-prepare? Well, it's here, and I'm about to play it, but I'm commenting on it because I actually found it, and, well, I mean, it's anyone could find it, was watching it and a bunch of different parts of it, put a couple pieces of it together, wanted to quick take a look at it because I found it interesting for a couple of reasons, and I want to show them to you, and apologize for the sound quality. It's not my fault. Sound quality is pretty bad on this clip that I'm about to show you right now. Oh
First of all, I want to point out that it's not just the Grammys that are pulled out of the English awards as well, the English equivalent. The reason that I wanted to pull out was because I believe very much that the music industry as a whole operates mainly.
What she's talking about right now is she was refusing to go to the Grammys in 1991.
It's concerned mainly with material success.
On the Arsenio Hall
A lot
show.
of artists I think, are responsible for encouraging the belief among people that material success will make them happy. And I think one of the...
So obviously the philosophical reference there is, money can't buy you happiness, but it's an oft peddled belief, especially if you are unexperienced in having material possessions, right?
That the industry encourages commercial success and materiality is by having award ceremonies which very much honour those who have achieved material success rather than people who have told the truth or who've done anything to pass information to people or to inspire people or to, just be truthful about anything, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, I went...
So, I don't know if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. She's 24 years old here. Sinead O'Connor is. She's been involved in a lot of controversy lately. One can't help but she's so intelligent and strong. Let me.
The AMA is purely to confirm everything that I'd been thinking. Anyway, I'd been thinking about this for a long time before that, and I wanted to go there and see. I wanted to know whether in the light of there being a world war happening, which is happening because we as a race are concerned with material success rather than each other. We don't love each other.
Referring there to the Middle East, the conflict that's still going on. Nothing's changed. Nothing new under the sun. Pursuit of fossil fuels.
We don't care about each other. We kill each other. We allow each other to starve to death. We censor each other. We rape each other. We beat each other up. We abuse our children in every way possible. You know what I mean? So in the light of there being a world war, which I think is happening because of all of those things, I wanted to see if any artists would say anything when they had the platform about the war and about how tragic it was, and nobody said a word.
So that kind of ties into one of the things I wanted to hit on tonight is like, when you have a platform, do you have a responsibility to use that platform? And for most people, the answer, especially in the entertainment industry, the answer is no. And the justification is usually something along the lines of, well, I'm here to entertain people, to give them some respite from the horrors that they're going through. I don't want to preach or proselytize to them.
Other than, peace in the Middle East, but I don't know what that means when you're dressed in a suit that's made out of the American flag. You know what I mean? So I wanted to basically...
Kind of like this.
Well...
So I want to cut Arsenio Hall some slack there, right? This is a different time. This was 1991. Pro-American nationalism was very much de rigueur, right? It was not accepted, or was it? There wasn't anything noble about disavowing nationalism, that I recall at this time. I was in high school at this time, so
There's one thing that must be pointed out, that, you know, it's very easy, and a lot of people have done this. I don't have any problem with America or with American people, and it's simply a lie for anybody to say that I do. If I did, I wouldn't live in this country, and I'd hardly even be sitting here speaking to anybody. But the fact is that I don't agree with segregation of any kind, whether it's in music or whether it's to do with nationalism or patriotism of any kind. I believe in having a sense of pride in your country and where you're from, but I believe in the human race. I don't believe in sections of it, or, you know, sections of music. I believe in art. You know what I mean? I don't believe in segregation.
Now, there is something a little bit, feels a little bit weird, kind of, she's not talking to Arsenio Hall here. She's talking to the audience. But to express something like this, when you're given a platform where the world was essentially put at Sinead O'Connor's feet at a very young age, and she actively rejected it.
Basically, I went to the American Music Awards because I wanted to see whether anybody would have the guts to say anything. You know, like how tragic it is that the war is on, and nobody did. So that's when I decided that, you know, I didn't want to be part of the whole thing.
Isn't there a DJ that says...
So now this part I find very interesting. There's two ways you can view the upcoming 30 seconds or so, this exchange that's about to happen. You can view it the way it is on the surface, which is two people being flirty with each other, or you can view it as Arsenio Hall using a sort of the power dynamic problem that exists to actively flirt with Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor has the strength and presence of mind to turn the tables on him and to make him the one on the defensive. That's the way that I see it when I watch this. Like, I don't see. Let me just show you, and we can talk about it after.
I mean, in England, who said you should be spanked or something?
Yeah.
Can you give me his number in case y'all work it out? I'd like to do the spanking.
Oh, I'd like it to. I was gonna.
So he says, "I'd like to do the spanking." Right? I mean, in the 90s, it was a different time, right? But still, over the line. But her response is, "Oh, I'd like you to." Right?
If you would, actually.
Yeah, let's get busy. Let's really get busy.
What are you doing later on?
Yeah.
And so she is pushing that forward and like saying, doubling down, calling his bluff, and turning in. This is in my head, right? I don't know if this is actually what's happening. This is the way it feels to me. But she's calling his bluff, and she's making him on the defensive.
Who is this guy? Is he...
Don't avoid the issue.
I'm not going to avoid the issue. I just want to give you your...
It's interesting there how, like, she says, sorry about that. She says, don't avoid the issue. He tries to move on. She says, don't avoid the issue. So she's really kind of... It's very hard for me to imagine someone at any age, me at any age, having the sort of presence of mind to deal with something like this in the way that she just did. Much less at 24, right?
Time now, and I'll get my time later. Does it get you down sometimes? Do you want to quit and just go
Yeah, it
home?
does. It's very difficult. It does get me down. I mean, you know, there are things that I really like, but this kind of thing, it's not easy to be the butt of an awful lot of venom and hatred that gets directed at you merely because you've said that you're sorry over the fact that there's a war happening, you know, and that you'd like to do something about it.
So she used her platform to advocate for peace, essentially. And was criticized for it and told, you know, basically shut up and sing.
You know what I mean? There are millions and millions of people who feel exactly the same as I do. If you forget that I'm in any way a public figure, you know, there are billions of people that feel exactly the same as I do, and they don't have the opportunity to say how they feel, and people like us do. And
that's like the key point when we're talking about like using your platform or not using your platform. Right? You have an opportunity when you're in a position to have your voice heard and amplified, to amplify the voices of those who cannot get their voices heard. Why is that not seen as more of an imperative for people with these platforms? Because, obviously, you do so at your own peril, right?
Should do, as far as I'm concerned. But it's very, very difficult just as a 24-year-old girl, like, to be the butt, as I said, of such an enormous amount of hatred and venom and personal abuse. You know what I mean? It really gets to be a bit of a strain. So sometimes you feel like, you know, that cave is looking good.
So there was a little bit there of like, well, so what's Sinead's next move, right? Is she going to put her money where her mouth is? Obviously, anyone who has recollection of this incident knows she did on Saturday Night Live just a few months after that appearance.
We know we will win. We have confidence in the victory of good over evil. Fight the real enemy.
Right, so she essentially ended her career by tearing up a picture of the Pope live on Saturday Night Live, because that was a platform where she knew she could not be censored, at least for the East Coast broadcast. I don't recall if they actually censored it for the West Coast broadcast. Nobody makes a noise. Like there's some booing if you get a little more of that. Nobody makes a noise there. But she essentially sacrificed what could have been. She could have been Prince's protege. She could have been there. There were so many opportunities available for her as a conventionally beautiful white woman who had, or still has, and well, actually her voice is, it's interesting. Like now, if you hear her voice now, she smokes, right? So it has a very different timbre. I'm sorry for saying the word that way, than it did back then, but it is still extremely beautiful. So she gave up so much for this cause that she believed in, and I feel like people who are given similar platforms and make excuses as to why they don't want to throw stuff away, what they're saying is, yeah, I mean, most of them are not saying, well, I don't believe in that, right? What they're saying is, yeah, that is a problem. I can't sacrifice my livelihood to help that problem. And to be fair, like there are people who, who kind of walk the line on this, right? And there are people who manage to speak their truth. And sorry, I said that phrase, but they speak their truth, and they're still able to keep their ability to have a voice, right? Their ability to have a voice is not stripped from them as a result. She was not in a position to do that, and her platform was stripped from her. And she has, from what I looked into, suffered a lot, had like mental breakdowns, etc. And there is an argument to say that that ties, and there are studies that tie precocity, being precocious at a young age, with some form of mental illness that can often manifest itself later in life. Geniuses go mad because the world is not a sane place. So if you have the presence of mind to realize that, it's very difficult to exist in that kind of a place for any length of time and not lose your shit. And also, right, had she been a man, I'm not saying that she might have she still could have lost her platform, definitely, but she would have had a better chance of keeping it. And had she waited, maybe there's also an argument there that maybe had she waited until she was very entrenched, right? Like you can't. It's not the same as canceling somebody, right? This is industry out, not grassroots up, right? Sorry, industry down kind of cancellation, not grassroots up cancellation, which is a very different kind of thing. Had she been more entrenched and given herself more of a, you know what, I don't know if that's true. Now I'm questioning that because there's a way of spinning everything so that you can get the world to turn on you. And certainly musical artists were at the, there's so many cases you hear about of musicians who you assume are multi-millionaires who were just ripped off and didn't get got horrible legal advice and had tons of money embezzled, and their record companies didn't pay them royalties and misfiled, and there was fraud in the accounts for how much they sold and how much they made. That stuff is rampant, is still rampant today. If there's a good, a lot of people talk about like the way the music industry has changed for the worse. If there's something good out of it, like the decentralization of record companies as the primary functioning entities controlling that power, maybe that's one good thing we can say. Music or the creation of art has improved because more power is now in the hands of the artist, as opposed to record company producers and that entire system, which has more or less fallen apart. Okay, so that's what I wanted to open with, and then let me say hi to everybody real quick, because we got a special guest tonight. I'm excited about. Your guest is Tom Cullen. No, it's a riddle. It was a riddle. No, it's not Atlas. You're impressed that I got Tom Cullen. Hi, Q. Hi, Pavi. Lexi, you built a task tracking system in Notion today. That's awesome. What does Notion use? And what kind of scripting is that? I don't know. Pavi, wash the dishes. Colorful, how are you doing? Lisa, how are you doing? Lisa sent me an article on Matthew McConaughey running for governor, an op-ed piece. I forget what, New York Times, I think. I'm not sure. Or no, like the Houston Tribune. I don't know what the paper it was. But where the writer essentially did a 180 and was like, this is not a good idea, and then kind of talked themselves through why, well, maybe it is a good idea. It's not a good idea. Come on. KJ, good evening. Colorful, work on your work. Work has to be prioritized. Of course. Flaglow, good evening. Hey, Caroline, how are you doing? Warp Raven. Every time I see Warp Raven, I have to bring it up. I have to bring up that avatar. Because like the color on it, the lighting on it, and that gauntlet is just something else. Xava, good evening. I can give you another hint. Well, I think I just did. Just gave you another hint. Something to do with Xava. Plain bingo. I probably did a whole bunch of it. It's probably already all. This is the same shirt that I was wearing in the stream yesterday. I haven't been wearing it the whole time since. It's sort of a stream shirt. It pops. I don't always want to be wearing black. It tends to be my go-to. It matches with the U, and it kind of gives me some. It's a little weird having this blue behind me in the chair. But, I want to have some degree of a thematic, some sort of thought going into the color of the background. Nick Kalia, hello. Oh, you got ads before the stream. Why? Has that ever happened for anyone before? You wish the guest was Stephen King. God, what world would that be? PG, how are you doing? Nix. Graces Grove, it is good to see you. Oh, you know what it might have been? The way that I set up this stream this evening, usually I do it straight from Ecamm. I did it through YouTube this evening, so that might have been why. If nobody likes that, I'll go back to doing it the other way. I don't want to screw up the experience for people. I mean, this is not ASMR, so I don't know. Elijah Hill, happy birthday. Okay, I'll go quick. Chelsea Nash, hi. Nick, noticed Yeah. But I mean, I only wear it for a couple hours. It's actually not that comfortable of a shirt. I am trying to wear more colors. Oh, Celine. Wow, good luck on finals. Good luck. Very, very important. Okay, let's get down to the bottom. Oh my gosh, Chels. How are you doing, Chels? This looks like your first message. Maybe you deleted something and I don't see it. Well, most people don't have a platform, right? I mean, your platform could be your circle of friends. Your platform could be, I feel like the scale of the platform, it's all relative. And this is true, Q. Like, I'm like, everybody knows where to find me. Ms. Good to see you, Ms. Katarina. Yep, I agree. So, with something like 23 people killed in missile strikes in Palestine yesterday. It's a sticky wicket to get into, but it does seem like Palestine is always getting the short end of the stick. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yep, she absolutely did, Carolyn. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what was actually happening, but I felt like that's what she was doing. I don't know. I like to think that maybe it is in my head. Yes, I've shaved my head too, and it's a great experience. It feels amazing. Unfortunately, I have a lumpy head. I don't have a nice round head, so yeah. Can you compare John Lennon with? I don't know if that's a great comparison. She actually, in that interview, mentions that John Lennon had to die, essentially, for him to be recognized for the stuff that for the peace. For promoting peace, he had to die. But yeah, sexism, obviously. No, well, I mean, maybe before a big church abuse scandal, but there were church abuse scandals prior to that under John Paul II. My serious tan. I think that's the LUT a little bit, but I have been getting outside. How do you think I get pictures like this? Look at what I have to show you. It's happening right in my backyard. Look at them. It was literally like almost every other stalk of grass had a cicada crawling up it before the birds came and get them all. Look at that. I love that. Like, is it kind of hideous? Yeah, it's got like cockroach legs, which I really have a thing against cockroaches. But look at the wings. Those wings are beautiful, and the eyes are beautiful, I think. But they're all over the place right now. They're just, if they were locusts, we'd really be having a problem. Oh, Levy, good evening. How are you doing? Guys, sorry, I said guys. Trying not to do that. Folks, if any of you are not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. No, that still doesn't work. I keep forgetting to set that up again. I've lost it. Yeah, she definitely had is having problems and has had problems. But she also had extraordinary insight at an extraordinarily young age. Hi, Hocus Pocus. I don't think I've seen you before. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, nurture plays a huge role in who we become as people. Hi, Selkie. How are you doing? No, you did not scare the special guest away. No, nobody's scaring the special guest away. Hey, Asterios. I remember you very well now. So, special guest, Sinead O'Connor. Man, Olevi, it doesn't matter how many times you say this. I guess I gotta watch it before. Tom Cullen is a character in The Stand. Tom Cullen also has a particular characteristic that he exhibits in The Stand. It is not Max Sense. I have spoken with Max Sense. I would like to think that he and I are as close to internet ASMR buddies as you can be. He's been great. We've talked about doing collaborations quite a bit. And it's been me who has been dropping the ball because I don't have the energy. Sorry. It's not make sense. Not make sense. I do have a lumpy head. Isra Khan, hi, how are you doing? A new 742. Yes, those are the oft-mentioned cicadas. They're loud, man. They are loud. This is what I hear, is that they're delicious. The birds seem to think they are. The squirrels seem to think they are. A lot of activity in my yard the last few days. Yeah, they're really, really loud. Okay, I think we're pretty much at the bottom here. What else happened? What has happened in the last... I've been, as I guess most of you know, or maybe you don't, but I think most of you know, I've been live streaming Resident Evil 8 Village. I have generally, like by and large, I've loved it. By and large. I feel like here's what I feel like happened. It's a very hub and spoke game, right? It's very much like here's this area with this theme, and then you come back to the village. Then you go to this area with this theme, come back to the village. This area, come back to always. And they're very disparate, those areas that you go to. And I feel like they knew where their strengths were and where their weaknesses were, and that they kind of divvied them up in that way. So in the last stream, I definitely hit like my least favorite part of the game. It was so disheartening that I practically threw my hands up. And I just need to get through it. I'm just going to go on a walkthrough and just be like, get me through this part as quickly as possible, because I do not want to be in a rundown factory anymore. I've had my fill for the rest of my life of games that take place in rundown factories where you got to find ways to put power to things and make platforms move. I hate Heisenberg. That's correct. Hi, LQ. Good to see you. Anyway, yeah, I've been playing Resident Evil. I will say, like, it's so far it's good. It's good. I don't know how much is left. No idea. But it feels like I'm approaching the end. So I am going to stick through it, even though, like I said, I didn't really like the last one. I wanted to show you all something real quick. So y'all know that I worked on like a Spongebob game a little bit ago. And when I say a little bit ago, I mean like almost 20 years ago, like a huge amount of time ago, actually. And I happen to think SpongeBob is actually a pretty intelligent cartoon. depending on the season that you kind of see it. And my son really likes SpongeBob. He's liked SpongeBob for almost 2 years now. And I remember having him over, and we were just talking or whatever and drawing stuff, and I asked him to draw SpongeBob. And he drew SpongeBob. And then that was a summer ago. So that was almost a year ago, not quite a year ago. And then he drew SpongeBob again this summer. And he's been drawing, like, he draws comics all the time. Like, that's his thing. It's like he just draws comics all the time. And the difference here, take a look at this. I know, talking about my own kids, I'm going to be much more interested than you are, but so what? Look at that. And those are freehand. You can see, believe it or not, the one on the left is freehand. I don't really, it looks like he was trying to do the waves that are in SpongeBob's head by going over it again and again with the yellow marker. I don't really know what he thought he was doing with like the lines coming out of the hands. I can't get inside the kid's head. But the one on the right, I mean, the proportions are a little bit off. But apart from that, that's a damn good SpongeBob. Like the lip, the little line under the lip is right. Because I modeled SpongeBob for the games that we were doing, I kind of know pretty well. Like I could tell you where the dark yellow spots are on his head. He's got the proper number of eyelashes. He's got the right cheeks. He's got freckles on the cheeks, although not the right amount of freckles. 3 freckles on each cheek. Come on, Charlie, get your act together. He's got the tie going really well there. This is less than a year. So I like to look at this and think that like this kind of progress is never going to stop. And in 5 years, he will be Rembrandt. Of course, that's not the way things work in real life, but one can dream. All right, so I have a guest tonight, and I want to just go ahead and bring this guest on. This is somebody whom, I think I first saw one of her videos in maybe 2016. Maybe it was something like that. It was a long time ago. Felt like a long time ago. And her voice just like totally knocked me out. It was just, she has one of those voices that like, it doesn't matter what is being said. It doesn't matter if the language is a language that I understand. It's just like burrowed into my skull and was able to like just put me right out, flat out. And she's been very, very creative in the videos that she's done. She took a little break for a while, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But maybe not, we'll see. It depends on the reasons for the break. And has come back really strong in the last year and a half. Something like that. I see her nodding in the green room. So so let's just bring her out. I want to introduce you. If you don't know her, you should, because she makes amazing videos. And if you do know her, you'll love the stuff that she does. So welcome to the show. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Looks like there might be some audio issues, but let's give it a shot. Let's see if there's an audio issue or not. Welcome, Behind the Moons.
Hey.
Hi,
look everyone.
That. It works.
Is it working?
It works. I can hear you.
Good.
I can see you. I think, can everybody hear her?
Hey, hello, hi everybody. Bonjour, bonsoir les Français.
Look, there we go. We got the Behind the Moon stand here. Woo.
Yeah.
And Ex-Ava, I mentioned to you, Moons, that
Oui. Bonsoir.
that Ex-Ava is from Brittany, and I have a very sort of skewed idea of France And I just imagine France as being all sort of wineries and rolling hills and castles and trellises with, flowers growing up them. It's all very
Pretty
idyllic.
much,
in my
yeah.
opinion, right? But you don't live in Brittany, right? You live somewhere other than Brittany.
Yeah, I live in the north of France, so Lille, for those French people who know French geography. But I'm from actually the west of France, so Brittany, I've lived there in the past, so I know Britain. Yeah.
What do you think of it, Brittany?
I loved it. I really like it. It's just actually now that I'm full-time ASMR creator, I could be going back there for work, but I basically came to the north of France for my studies, school, and then for work. And when I thought of going back there, when I was still working like a regular job, there wasn't that many opportunities for me over there, so I didn't really quite went back there. But I love the region, and I go back there frequently for my family and friends.
So for people who don't know you, can you talk about like what your work is? Yeah. Is that something that you ever reveal, or is that not something that you?
Sure. When you said I came back strong like a year and a half ago, this is when I decided to basically focus all of my time and energy on creating videos mostly. So ASMR videos. So currently this is what I do. I make ASMR videos, I stream a bit, and basically this is my full-time occupation at the moment, yeah.
I didn't know that. So you did it. You dove in completely.
Exactly. And this is the reason I took many breaks, because my channel is 8 years old now, but there has been years in which I didn't post anything because I was struggling with work and studies and finding the time and the energy to at the same time do videos basically. And yeah, when I was having my last job, because basically I was working as an engineer in the industry and different companies, and
As a software engineer?
Not software. I can't code at all. But
okay.
More like planning engineer basically.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't feel like I had the energy both for daytime work and also when I'm back home to do my own projects. And I couldn't see myself, just having my daytime work for 10 years, and I wouldn't want to wake up at 35, for example, and realize I've not done anything I really wanted to do, which is basically create. I just wanted to have something artistic I wanted to do, and I just couldn't. So I had to make a choice, and I thought, I'm going to try to really give 100% to my channel and try for a year and see if I can make a living out of it, because if I can't really sustain it, basically. And in the end, I managed to get enough to live, so this is why I'm still doing it. Yeah.
That must have been so scary, though, to go, because for me, ASMR has always been a hobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't worry too. I do kind of worry about views and numbers and all that kind of stuff, but I don't worry as much, and I don't have to worry so much about oh, should I do something like this that might be controversial, or that, or say something, watch what I say, or I tend to act in a more cavalier way, and I worry, or I did worry whenever I would think about oh, is this something I could do full time? Well, there's two things that would always come to mind. One would be I would have to be more conservative about what I do, and two would be once I have to do something, I tend not to enjoy it as much.
Yeah, definitely. To me, that was the main risk, having to make the videos and having to be regular in your video and have one video out every week or even two. At the beginning, I did 2 videos a week. And yeah, the main risk for me was that I wouldn't enjoy it as much, or that it would feel like a chore or something like that. And it's not really the case. Even though sometimes I have less energy and I feel like I need to put out videos because there are people on Patreon supporting me, and I feel like I owe it to them at the very least. So there's still a bit of that in the work that I do, but mostly I'm having a lot of fun, really pushing myself and creating different videos and always finding out, new visuals or improving on sounds and how I do my audio, and there's always something I feel like I've really been improving so much for like the year and a half I've been doing it like full time.
I can absolutely validate that thought of yours, because it's been really, really cool to watch as an outsider, right? Like, I've watched your videos, like I said, for a long time, and then maybe I'd see you on Instagram or something saying like, oh, I got a new camera, or I got a new microphone, or whatever. Then I remember when you got some new lights or something like that.
Yeah,
and
the lights. Yeah,
it was like overnight the video quality was
big difference.
It was huge. And not that, people don't need like great lights to make great videos or anything like that, but certainly like you used them really, really well. Especially, I don't know if you had any background in that or anything like that, but you like just went from 0 to 60, it seemed like overnight, and avoided a lot of the pitfalls that it seems like people run into often when they get lights, like they'll overlight or do something like that. It seemed like you had a really good idea of like complementary colors and kind of getting you to pop out of your background. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that I remember noticing, and I was just like, man, she just got it. Like, she didn't have to like, I remember going through it and like just failing over and over and over again, and then having these faded out things or color schemes that didn't work, and then iterating on it over and over and over again until I finally felt like I got something. But with you, it seemed more like inherent. So I don't know. Do you do creative stuff outside of ASMR? Are you, really as a planning engineer, does that require like artistic skill as well, or is there?
Not
No.
really. Well, the studies I've done, so I have an engineering degree, but like basically that stuff, I now feel like I did it because I felt like I had to please family and basically what people expected of me.
Oh,
basically.
wow.
But really, to me, it's completely unrelated to anything artistic I'm doing at the moment. Even though I did learn things I may be using now regarding how I organize my work and like all of these other things I'm doing also because I'm self-employed basically. But for the artistic side of it, it's more like everything I've ever been interested in, because I've always been interested in music, cinema and music, and again but all of these have been my hobbies for a long time, and I feel like that now I'm actually producing something, and it's like all of these is merging together, and basically all of my inspiration are I feel like I can feel how my inspiration are showing in my videos, although it may not be obvious to the viewers, but
I think
I wouldn't say it's related to the engineering side.
I think maybe there's like things that people pick up on, they don't know, like they can't put their finger on necessarily exactly what it is, but there is something that is, I think, very unique about your videos, and it may be a result of these kind of overlapping skill sets that you're applying and you're like seeing solutions for that are unique to you and the way that you think, right? You mentioned film, right? I noticed, you had a video on your, I think it was your favorite films of the, it might have been of all time. I don't know if it was the past few years.
Film and series recommendation of like some of my favorite. It would be so difficult for me to like tell you my favorite film straight away, but for this video I worked a small list of films I would definitely recommend, and I guess that's the one you're talking about.
That is the one I was talking about. And what struck me about it was the first one, I think, well, maybe the first or the second one was Cronenberg's The Fly, right? And I think I know you said that horror is not generally your thing, but that body horror would be more your thing. If you had to pick horror, body horror is the way you'd go. And if you got to go body horror, Cronenberg's the way to go.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. And maybe this is like maybe related to the fact that, for example, for ASMR videos, I'm generally not a fan of green screens, and anything that's not, I don't love them that much, even though you can really do amazing things with that. But to me, it's related to body horror, because body horror is like things you can touch, and you have the sensation you could be touching these, and it's even worse that way. And to me, green screen is like like, you know, CGI or like digital horror nowadays, I feel like you can tell it's fake and it doesn't have the same effect. Sorry.
I'm in complete agreement with you. I think there are a couple of people who can do it really, really well.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And there's also like subtle ways to do it where it might be difficult to even know someone is using a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's just like pop a green screen up and then throw like a sci-fi background behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden I'm in space, right? Like that, it doesn't work, right? It's
Yeah.
not the, it's not the way. At least for me, right? Like for lots of people, first of all, ASMR, right, is a largely auditory medium, so maybe they don't care. But for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, like it gets to me, and I don't know exactly what it is. But I have noticed that about you. Is like, yeah, you tend to just, it's the environment that you're in is what you're doing. And you do some creepy stuff. You did a Furby video that was creepy.
I would never. Okay, I've done creepy videos, but to me, I wouldn't immediately think of the Furby video because I've done
Well-
the Halloween special ones, which are like the devil buying your soul.
Right.
Maybe these are a bit more creepy.
I think it was like insidiously creepy because just because of like, I even remember like you were talking about their anatomy and kind of questioning how they could function as actual living beings, right? And also they're just Furbies. But you know what was weird about that was those things make amazing ASMR sounds. Like the beak, like it was a really good sound. And like you were lifting up the eye, and it was combined with like the fur part, right? So it almost seems like those things were, if they just didn't look so horribly creepy, maybe they would be great for ASMR.
Actually, maybe I could do like an update video on this because I have now like a bed sheet Furby, like with a huge Furby on it, and
Wait,
it's really, really creepy and it's really big. So maybe as a background,
so it's a bed
could
sheet with just a big Furby printed
with
on
a
it?
huge Furby on it, yeah, and with the pillow matching, you know. So it's.
Oh, I didn't
I can
realize
see
that. I didn't realize that Furbies were quite that important.
They are not quite as important as you would think they are to me. No, it's like more of a joke, and now the joke is taking too much space, and people are starting to wanting to send me Furbies, and I'm like, okay, stop the joke. Let's stop it.
If you want to get sent something, yeah, you don't want to get sent Furbies.
It's nice. I appreciate the gesture, but my point, I'm not a collector. I would say I'm kind of a minimalist, even though it's not really true. But I don't want to gather and have like tens of Furbies in my home. Like having 3 is fun and it's enough, you know.
But once they're everywhere and like on your bedspread,
It's too much.
and
Yeah,
say,
no.
yeah, you have a Furby toothbrush or whatever else, you know. Then
But
I could
that's
imagine a
the
Furby.
issue with being an ASMR creator. You know, you can buy the strangest thing and say, "Oh, I'm gonna use it in a video. It's fine.
Yes.
You know, I'll find a way." So
Do you write that stuff off? I don't know how the tax code works in France. If you can write off tax income, no, doesn't work that way.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
I have a feeling in the U.S. like there's a lot of ASMR creators who might write a bunch of weird stuff off, and they might be calling attention to themselves inadvertently by writing off things that they. I mean, you could say anything is for ASMR, right? You absolutely
Pretty
anything.
much, yeah.
Yeah, like an iPhone is for ASMR. You just want to, you're tapping it, and therefore got to
That's
write
true.
it off. It's tax free, right? So to move on to something else I wanted to kind of talk about. I don't want to rush you through stuff, but I also know it's like 2 a.m. there, right? Something like that.
Yeah, but some viewers are from France as well, so I don't want to go before them. So it's gonna be fine.
They stick around pretty late. But so another thing you mentioned in the films video was that you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
And-
grew up with it, and I'm currently rewatching it with my partner. So I'm not saying I'm having a hard time saying I'm a fan of anything, but I really like definitely Buffy, and I've grew up with it. So I've grown up with it.
Does the word fan, because of the kind of negative connotation of like being a fanatic about something, is that why you
Well,
don't?
I would say I wouldn't consider myself a fan because I can see the flaws in anything, and especially rewatching the series now, I can see so many things that I feel are not great about the show. So I can take it as it is, and I wouldn't say I would defend it no matter what, because I can definitely see the issues somewhere in the series. But I like it overall. I would recommend it, and I really enjoy it, and it's important to me and to my younger self when I was younger as well.
And this is like a really, so Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think, is a good example for Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a very sort of female empowering series, right? One of the, I mean, well, there were ones before that, but there weren't that many. And this was like a global phenomenon when it came out, right? And if it weren't for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there wouldn't have been Veronica Mars. There's a bunch of stuff
definitely.
Even the concept, there wouldn't have been Battlestar Galactica. Like the concept of this kind of big bad at the end, some episodes that kind of advance this plot, and then side episodes that don't necessarily advance the larger plot. All of that sort of was the result, as far as I know, right? Like that kind of, a lot of that started with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I would say that these, the way that these series were in the 90s mostly, like the X-Files is the same, you have episodes one-timer and things that will not be advancing the plot, the arc of the season basically, and then you have this episode really working on that specific thing that's going to be, unfolded later on. So I was actually talking about this a few weeks ago, but to me this is really how series were back then. And I don't think Buffy was the first one, but I think that these back then there was a lot of series working that way, maybe.
And maybe Buffy helped solidify. I guess what I'm getting at is Buffy was a very important series for women. I think for making women having a very visible female protagonist, right? Who was very powerful, and there wasn't a lot of that at that time or before that, I guess. But there's this issue now, like with Joss Whedon facing these accusations of, general assholery and harassment and being abusive and all these kinds of things. And it kind of comes back to this, like, there's this sort of double-edged sword there of what do you do then when, like, I faced like a similar thing to this because my favorite director used to be Woody Allen. Like, back like 15, 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, if you would ask me my like top 5 favorite movies, 2 of them would have been Woody Allen movies. And it was very, very difficult, right, for me to, I'm now at like now I can't even, if a Woody Allen movie comes on, I can't watch it, right? I don't actively support him in any way anymore. But it took a lot. It took more than it probably should have. I was willing to overlook the fact that he married his girlfriend's adopted daughter, right? Which I shouldn't have done, right? I was willing to overlook everything up until the whole thing came out about him abusing his biological daughter, right? And at that point, I was just like, oh, this is just like a preponderance of evidence. I can no longer in good conscience watch a Woody Allen movie or support him in any way. And so I wonder, like, for Joss Whedon, this is a fairly recent thing. I don't know, like, what the state of it is, right? And I don't really know. I know Gal Gadot has come out as saying, actually, it might be Gal Gadot. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But Wonder Woman, the actress who played Wonder Woman, as well as Ray Fisher. There have been a lot of people who have come out and said, and even I think Michelle Trachtenberg from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes, she did, yeah.
Basically came out and accused him of bullying, using intimidation. I'm not sure because I don't have enough information on it. How much of it was like rooted in sexism or rooted in just generally being a piece of shit, right? So is that something that like you worry about or wonder about, or is it just too new at this point Because to me, this is kind of like, it seems like, well, if it were me like watching this stuff, I would probably be at the point where I'm like, well, maybe more stuff will come out and I will find it unconscionable to watch any Joss Whedon stuff. But I'm not sure that I'd be at that point yet. I'm not actually a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, although I appreciate it very much, right?
Okay.
But so I guess I just wonder if that's an issue for you or something that you think about or are worried about if you're like recommending Buffy the Vampire Slayer to someone else.
Okay. Well, I think it was like, I can't remember when, but a few months ago, I think, yeah, it was the actress playing Cordelia Chase, so Charisma something, I can't remember her name, but I think she was the one writing like a big text about how he was really awful with her on the Buffy the Vampire spin-off series, Angel. She was an actress over there back then, and she was, she became pregnant, and he was just awful with her. And to me,
because
it's pretty
she
clear
became
that,
pregnant?
yeah, and it was not the plan for him. But like, yeah, these things happen, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, to me, it's clear because that's not the very first thing that came out on him, and especially other actresses, said basically the same thing, that he was really not a nice person to have around. And to me, it's clear that he's not a good person. And I'm not actually interested in anything new is producing or is been producing like these past years, so it's not like I would ever support him currently with anything he's doing right now. But to me, right, I wanted to say something else also about what you said about Buffy, like she's a strong character and it was like new and this is why it's so important for women. But to me, why Buffy is so different from other, badass characters, because we had Xena the warrior, we had like a lot of strong female characters back then already. But to me, the difference with Buffy is like you can really see how difficult it all is to her and how fragile she can be sometimes. And it's like she can be both. What was so important to show at some point was not just having like a strong female character, but also like a complex female character. And what's great about Buffy is that there's not just Buffy, there's also all of these other great female characters. And there's something also I didn't quite get when I was younger, but there's this character Anya, who's an ex-demon, and she's really special in how she sees the world. And to me, it almost feels like she's like a neurodivergent character. This is how I see it now, how she's playing and how she's understanding everything. And maybe I'm mistaken, but I feel like it's even greater, that we had that kind of character back then.
Did Joss Whedon write most of Buffy, or was he?
I think he did. I'm not sure he was the only writer at the end, but basically it was like his project, yeah. But
he had like this critical role in developing these complex female characters who weren't like Xena, like just superheroes and just like, and Xena you could argue is hypersexualized, right? Because of the, hold on a second, because of the way that she dresses and the way that they kind of just portray her as like, that sort of paper thin, cannot be defeated sort of. But you're talking about like, isn't it weird? It feels weird to me, right? Like you can have somebody who in their real life is so blind to what's going on around them, and yet can sort of creatively come up with these incredibly compassionate and well-rounded characters, female, male, but in this case, female, and still be that. I mean, he has to understand, he has to have some level of understanding in order to not write women horribly, right? Unless he was always working with somebody who was handling that for him. That doesn't seem like it would be very feasible. And yet this stuff was still going on, which kind of points to like, and I'm guessing, right? But it kind of points to like a heightened awareness of it, where he couldn't even like really plead ignorance, because he would be very aware of what he was doing because he's clearly a smart guy, right, and a very creative guy, but also, a sexist, controlling asshole, right?
To me, the issue is that he was basically in power. It was his series. He could do whatever he wanted. He was also writing, so if he wanted to have actresses out of it, he could as well. And to me, that's the issue. He felt untouchable, and maybe that's when people really feel and show who they really are at the core, if they are really well intended or if they just want things for themselves. And maybe that's what he is shown in these moments. Maybe
absolute power corrupts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he is not incorruptible, and that's been shown. I didn't want to spend too much time. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that because.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Well, actually, it wasn't easy for me either, to discuss in the video why I would recommend this series still. But to me, I put it in there because it was something I was currently rewatching, so it was present in my mind, of course. And also, I really grew up with it, and I feel like it has really influenced me in a way in how I am and in how I see how women can be, in a way, both strong but also very fragile, and basically both of these things, and figuring things out as we go, kind of.
I also heard you mention, and I've seen the "I Want to Believe" posters that you most sometimes, or it might be the same one, and I don't know. But so you're a big X-Files fan, is that? Fan. Sorry, you like.
I would. Well, we can kind of say that I'm a Buffy fan, but I'm not an X-Files fan because to me it really is something related more to my father, because when I was watching all of these series, it was with him when I was younger, and he's the X-Files fan, and most memories I have from X-Files is watching creepy episodes when I was a bit too young to watch them, so I didn't really watch everything about X-Files. I watch a couple films, I watch a couple episodes, but not everything.
I kind of feel like, right, that's that uncomfortable area, right, especially when you're growing up, right, watching or experiencing media that might be just not crazy over the top, too scary for you, but just a little bit, kind of makes you a little bit scared.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that can be mentally stimulating in a way, and possibly formative, and make you ask a lot of questions that you might not ask otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty cool. But so basically, X-Files for you, your memory is this is reassuring to you in a way because it is you're sort of reliving your childhood, and it calls to mind your father, right?
Yeah, basically my father, he also does music, and he's really kind of a creative person as well, and actually he's taught me a lot about music and films and series, and we have a lot of taste in common about all this, so it's a good memory of that and of who he is as a person as well, and what we have in common in a way.
Does he like Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah, well, we watched it together when we were younger, and he was the one buying the VHS and all.
VHS, oh my god.
Yeah.
Was that, I can't, that feels like that would have been post VHS, but maybe I'm wrong.
It was a transition, so we had parts in VHS and parts in DVD.
You had the first few seasons on VHS and then switched over to DVD.
Yes.
It's sad that a lot of that stuff I guess not all of it, but depending on who created it and how it was archived, a lot of stuff that's pre-digital is just almost
gone.
Irrevocably, either gone or just degraded to the point that it's just you can remaster this or do whatever digital magic you want to do to bring it back, but some of it's not coming back. Right?
I don't know if it's cliche or not, but I'm really interested in, maybe for future videos, really working with analog things, so cameras or old TV and recording whatever's on the TV. And I feel like it's been overdone, we've seen it before, but I don't know, I feel like old technology is also really inspiring to me and could maybe be used in ASMR video at some point. I don't know.
Do you mean actually recording on film, your videos on film or something?
I thought of it, yeah.
Oh,
well,
wow.
For the length of it, it would be maybe a bit difficult, but I would love it, to have a proper nostalgic ASMR video, which would look like it was recorded 20, 30 years ago. That would be really cool.
Yeah, because I've seen videos like that are just a filter, thrown
Yeah,
out to
exactly,
make
with
it
the
look
filter,
old.
and you can tell again. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It definitely lacks it's ersatz. It doesn't feel genuine. But I would imagine that would probably be fun, right? Like an interesting project, and it would probably look great. But man, it sounds like a lot of work. But if it's something you're
It
into,
would be actually. I have like a long list of video ideas I have, but a lot of them like are very difficult or would require a lot of work, and then I don't really do them. So it's like something I've been thinking about for a while now, but I'm not really currently working on it.
So you have a list. You're not at risk of running out of video ideas, right? You have a long list of stuff. Some of it might be too ambitious for you to want to do, right? At least right now. But you don't feel like your creative engine is gonna slow down anytime soon, right?
No, I have so many ideas, and my creative energy and idea is fine. The issue I face sometimes is just having the energy to do it, and sometimes I feel like I kind of need frequent breaks from recording and all, because doing videos every week, like, it's tiring in a way, because even though you have more ideas and you would like to do more, at some point you gotta like stop a bit and really take a step back regarding what you create and come back stronger. And I feel like I kind of need these breaks frequently. Yeah.
Do you pre-record then? So like you'll have a sort of bank of videos, and then you can not do videos for a few weeks and just release ones you recorded before?
No, I've basically been working without long stops for like a year and a half now. So I have like one video in advance, but it's only like this week video, so Sundays. And I already know like I have a week and a half to film at least one other video.
So you need a vacation, is what it sounds like, right?
That would be nice. It's difficult for me to let myself have vacation.
But what you're doing is, up to this point, I mean, I've seen your subscriber numbers like go, way up. I think you just passed or recently passed 60,000, something like that. That's becoming like harder and harder to do in the ASMR space because of how many people are doing ASMR, right? So that's really, really commendable. And I mean, frankly, like long overdue, right? Like you should have been there. I'm not saying you should have been there because you should have done more work. I'm saying you just based on the body of work that you already did, you should have already been there. Like that. I don't know what happened. I think the YouTube algorithm got you on that one.
I think that, for like maybe 6 months, I've been making some not weird choices regarding the videos, but I haven't been doing the most popular choices. And we know that in ASMR, if you do medical or like haircut or this stuff, like you're gonna have like a lot of views and you're gonna go quickly and you'll grow easily. But I've been doing, actually, there's a nice story, because like 6 months ago, I've made like an underwater video with like a nice blue shade in the background and with like the ear cupping trigger I really enjoy. And I really worked with the light and the mood of the video for that one. And thanks to that video, I was contacted earlier this year for like a special project with artists in France who gave me artworks, and I could like make like 2 videos with like a national museum and all, and it was like a huge, amazing opportunity. And I would have never had the opportunity if I had done like the popular videos. It was because I tried to do something different that I had this big opportunity in the end. So I'm happy with the choices I've made, even though I know these weren't the best choices if I really wanted to grow quickly, but it's not really the point to me currently.
But can you clarify for me a little bit? So you made videos that are featured in a museum exhibit? Is that what?
Not currently. What I've done is that, a few artists from Paris, basically, and Belgium as well, gave me some piece of art they made. And I made a video in which I basically presented the artworks and tried to make triggers, ASMR sounds with them. And these videos were also featured on the Instagram of the
artist
museum,
right.
basically.
Was
and
one of those
maybe
one of those
go
videos
ahead.
the ones that had like a teal background and you're holding something that looks like a round? Yeah, is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, that looked amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah, the artist who contacted me can now sell the video to museum, and that's possible. That's a possibility. But currently, museums are not really open, so
Oh,
we'll
right.
see how it goes.
How is I mean, I know this is everybody is talking about this or whatever, but I am curious, for other parts of the world, how the COVID vaccination is going, where you are, and if you've been able to get vaccinated. Unless that's something you don't want to talk about, right? I don't want to.
No, it's okay. It's in France, vaccine has been available for older people for like a few months now, and it's going step by step. So older people can get vaccinated. Then people who have comorbidity and maybe having more issues if they get COVID, so these get vaccinated as well. And currently, for 2 days now, myself and other younger people can get vaccinated only if the meeting is on the following day. So it's to make sure that no vaccine is being left out and thrown away. So that's how it goes, but it's really slow motion.
Okay, so you have not been able to get.
No, I'm refreshing the app and trying to find a meeting for tomorrow, but there's not any currently.
Oh, okay, so I see what you're saying. So you can only make appointments a day in advance because they're essentially using, for your age group, they're using ones that essentially would go to waste.
Exactly.
Put in an arm somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's something that in the U.S., right? It's just there's millions and millions of vaccines, 100 million vaccines administered, or I don't remember exactly what the number is. The number of vaccinations per day here is coming down from, it was almost 3 million a day. Now it's coming down because we're sort of hitting the threshold of people who just don't want to get vaccinated, and they want to wait longer, or they don't ever want to get vaccinated. But the problem is that the U.S. has hoarded a lot of vaccines, has a shit ton of vaccines that are going to go bad. The vaccines that we have sent to other countries, like to India, where it's just a nightmare over there, were all AstraZeneca, which is one of the vaccines that... So I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I got it, and then the day after I got it, they paused it because they found that it was causing blood clots and all that kind of stuff. So since then, it's been 4 weeks, 5 weeks since I got it. So I think I'm out of the woods. But I say that, and then that's hubris right there. I don't want to, yeah. But the fact that we're hoarding vaccines, keeping the good ones, right, the ones that people have less sort of fear of, and offloading the ones that we maybe will have trouble getting in people's arms, because we're kind of, to some extent, the U.S. is a bit of a nation of babies, right? We need
me first.
Yeah, me first, and also, no, I don't want that one. I want the best one, right? Don't you dare, and then the idea of sharing is just no, we can't. We need to make sure that we have as many as possible, and then it stops at this line this imaginary line that we drew. Especially when you look at the situation with Canada, right, which is getting better now, but a little while ago was really, really bad, and the idea that this imaginary line that I live closer to people in Canada than I do to people in other states, in California or Texas or even Florida, and that we're on the basis of this imaginary line, we're not sharing something that doesn't respect boundaries, right? This virus doesn't respect boundaries, doesn't respect national borders. We can try and stop people from coming in. It doesn't prevent other people from getting infected and possibly being breeding grounds for variants, right? Which seems to be, and I think there actually was a new variant identified in India that is much more transmissible than the variants that we're aware of right now. Hopefully the vaccines that we have now will still be good against all of the variants that are going to come up if people aren't able to get vaccinated in time. But I feel whenever I hear people talking about vaccination or reluctance to get vaccinated, or should kids get vaccinated, or younger people get vaccinated, they're missing that sort of crucial idea that you're not going to die from this, even if you get it, but you may be the person who allows it to mutate in this way that will then make it much more deadly or make it, resistant to the vaccines that we have. I feel like I don't hear that getting brought up enough. And I don't know if it's because my knowledge of it is incorrect and the way that I'm thinking about it is wrong, or if it's just like that's one step too many for people. Like people are just like, I don't, this was fast tracked. It's not FDA approved. It's just like an emergency approval, and a clinical trial is not enough for me. And look what happened to Johnson & Johnson, and look what's happening with the AstraZeneca. And I'd rather just wait and, if I'm not at risk, I'm just going to kind of wait and see how things play out as long as I can, which is a selfish attitude, right? And that's one thing that the United States is very good at, right, is being selfish.
Well, in France, again, we have a lot of people just not wanting to get vaccinated, and the government is having a hard time, convincing people that, guys, you should get the vaccine, please make the appointment and get it. And it's difficult even here to have people, be willing to take it.
Do you know what vaccines are prevalent there?
Pfizer, AstraZeneca, but it's people don't really want to have it.
Right.
And the last one is Moderna, I think. Moderna.
Okay, so but Pfizer and Moderna, those are the two big ones over
the
here.
good
right?
ones, yeah.
Yes, the good ones. 180 million doses distributed so far, right? So and almost no, apart from anaphylaxis, which I guess you can get from almost anything if you're allergic, right? Very very few side effects, or side effects, yes, but nothing that would be considered a serious side effect. So, yeah, I don't know. It's confusing to me. I don't get it. I don't know why this is not more of a global effort and seems to be a region-to-region effort. But it's frustrating. It is frustrating. So let me, if I can move on to something else. Do you have a few more minutes? I don't want to...
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not feeling tired at all. I haven't yawned at all, so we're good.
I could probably get you to yawn.
Okay, try.
Oh darn! No, I'm not gonna be able to do it now.
When I make ASMR live streams, I yawn all the time, and my moderators have even made a comment counting how many times I yawn during the streams. So it's bad. For the people watching right now, do I yawn a lot? I don't know if I do when I'm live streaming. And then I'd also like to, if people who are watching have any questions for Behind the Moons, oh, yes.
Please, I guess if you could type them in all caps or something so that I'll be able to see them, because otherwise I will not be able to see them. Or maybe I will. But if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in. Actually, let me be sure that there weren't any. Your camera's working great, by the way. We did a test earlier. This is behind the...
No issues.
Yeah, behind the scenes. We probably shouldn't talk about this, but we did do a test earlier to make sure that everything was going to work, and the camera was freezing, froze a couple times, and you got to see what was going on here through my horrible Mac Pro webcam lens. So you saw all the kind of grubby stuff going on back here, and I was pretty embarrassed. But thank you for putting up with that.
It's okay. It's okay. And I'm sorry I've been bumping the table apparently. So sorry, guys.
Oh,
I'm checking the chat as well.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Are you sure that wasn't me bumping the table? Okay. So until we see what questions people have. So you talked about you were working and you were doing ASMR on the side, and then you had some issues and moved essentially, and then that was the period where you kind of went dark for a while, or one of the periods where you went. There was a period of 2 years where you went dark. I want to say, is that?
Yeah. One thing also is that it took really a long time for me to not being ashamed of the channel in a way, because so many people were like mocking ASMR for the longest time, especially in France, because people tend to mock a lot there for some reason. And even at my very last job, like when in 2019, when I was about to quit to go full time, some of my coworkers found out about the channel and were basically laughing behind my back, over that. So I just had the hardest time, being proud of it and being able to talk about the channel just to some of my friends even, because I thought they wouldn't understand and they would just think it's weird, And I used to be really insecure, and I kind of still am, but not as much as before. So it's been a struggle also because of that.
That's surprising for me to hear, but I guess I always assume that like every other country is more progressive in those kinds of ways than the U.S. is, right? So I'm sorry to hear that. What year was that?
What part? Which part?
When you were getting essentially ridiculed for making ASMR videos.
Yeah, 2019, right before I quit.
Oh.
For really recently,
Wow.
And it was like, I heard of it. They never told me anything, up front, but I've heard of it. So
that's even more shocking, because I know I got a lot of guff for it back in 2015 or so, right, like that, which I can't believe that I have to say way back in 2015. Like 2015 should not.
6 years ago.
I know it feels like the future to me. 2015. But we do have one question for you. How can you be so fantastic? Can you give an answer to that?
She's my moderator, and she should be asleep, by the way.
Oh, is she your moderator?
Thank you. Yeah.
She has that's a great avatar that she has there. Oh, that's a question I had for you. Your name, Behind the Moons, did that come from something in particular?
Yeah, so it was back in 2013 when I was creating my channel, and I had a hard time finding a name, and I was really into Nick Drake, which is a singer.
Oh, I know Nick Drake very well.
And there's this song, Things Behind the Sun. Okay, go ahead.
Are you kidding me? Things Behind the Sun?
Yes! And of course you know it. So I tried Behind the Sun, it was taken. I tried Behind the Moon, it was taken. So I went, okay, Behind the Moons then. With the S, why not? And yeah, that's the story. And it's a bit awkward, but it's the one. You're flexing now.
I love Nick Drake.
It's a great song.
It's a great song. He has so many good songs, and like so many songs that like if you hear them now, they sound modern. Like they sound like they were done. Like if you were to play like Mumford and Sons or something, and then play Nick Drake, they would sound contemporary.
Definitely.
They don't sound like they're 30 or 40 years old. I don't remember exactly when. I think like 70, like maybe.
Yeah, to me the only thing which looks old is really the cover, because it's really old-fashioned. But apart from the cover, the song is really modern indeed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
so
I had no idea.
That's why. And actually, it's funny because this is the question I'm asked every Q&A I do, and I repeat it every time. But it's
How did I not absorb that information? Like, if I had heard it, I would have remembered, because Nick Drake is like, Suicide at 27, right?
Classic.
Beautiful, beautiful songs. Was an incredibly gifted, talented fingerpick guitar player. And apparently he would play live shows with his back to the audience, like just sort of a really beautiful, tender person, it seemed, right? I know it's like never meet your heroes, never know too much about your heroes. You'll find something horrible about them, it seems. But he seemed like a wonderful person who, passed way too soon. That's, wow.
Now you know.
Well, I'm sorry for asking you a question that like has been asked.
No, it's completely fine.
But I know how annoying that is. Like, what are your favorite triggers? I'm not
Again,
but I know you like ear cupping, so
ear cupping is really nice. I know that. Yeah, beginning of 2020, when I came back to making ASMR, I had a bit under 20,000 subscribers. So in like a year and a half, there has been like 40,000 people who subscribe. So I know I'm gonna have to repeat these questions because they were not around when I answered them in the
That's
first
true.
place. So
Right.
it's okay. It's okay.
And here's something that I'm sure you've thought of this, and right, like, and I have certainly helped. So I don't know if you know where I live. I live like right outside of Washington D.C.
Okay.
Can you hear this?
I was gonna
Can
say
you-
the USA, but
Can you hear this helicopter that's flying? Do you hear
a little bit.
a little bit? Yeah, it's fading away now. But and so I just wanted to apply. Like helicopters fly over my house. Military helicopters fly low over my house all the time, and it's pretty annoying because they always seem to do it Wednesday nights. Like that seems to be one of their flight paths seems to be Wednesday night. They come over. That was actually really, really mild. I tend to get buzzed quite a bit. And now I'm forgetting what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So organic growth versus like word of mouth growth. And the proportion of subscribers that you have compared to the proportion of people who are really fans of you, right? Because something that I've found, and I'm wondering if you have found this as well, is like if I will do like a collab or something like that, or I'll be on a thing, or there'll be something that's like I show up somewhere where I wouldn't normally show up. I might see a spike in subscribers, right? And I feel like a lot of those people who don't find you by looking for you and kind of like really zeroing in and resonating with you, but more just with like oh, that was pretty good, let me just hit subscribe, right? Those people are more likely to drop off later. If you put out something that they don't like, they're less likely to be patrons. They're less likely to be engaged. I don't know if you have a Discord channel or anything like that.
No, I don't.
Or Discord server. Sorry, not Discord channel. Q is going to yell at me for saying Discord channel. I got to learn. The nomenclature is all. I'm too old for this crap. But yeah, Discord server. But do you have Twitch? Do you do Twitch as well?
Yeah, I started doing live streams over Twitch. Yeah, on Twitch.
What is your opinion of that? Like, how do you like? When I started doing live streams, I was like, well, YouTube's where I'm comfortable. I don't know about like going to another platform. What I've seen of Twitch, it's like there's like widgets all over the place, and like I don't know, there's emoticons flying everywhere, and I just looked at it and I was like, that looks like it's too much to learn and too much to kind of like get into, and I just want to stay with the little corner that I know and I'm comfortable in.
To me, that was like the opposite, because when I wanted to start streaming, I was like too afraid to start streaming on YouTube because I had like a large following, and I was afraid that my first live stream would be awful. I would have no idea what I was doing, basically. So I thought I'm gonna try on Twitch with like very little people and just get comfortable with OBS and just doing my streams. And whenever I would feel comfortable enough, I would go over on YouTube.
That's why I made a separate channel to do these. Right, that's really like, I mean, I found when I would do live streams on the Phoenician Sailor channel, every time I would lose between 50 and 100 subscribers. Just every time, like clockwork, right? Which, and in a way, it's kind of like, well, those people aren't really subscribers, right? I mean, they're technically subscribed to me. And it's great now. I already got the plaque. They're not getting the plaque back, right? So even if I dip down below 100K or whatever, I'm keeping the plaque. But even though those people are technically subscribed, they're not really into what I'm doing, right? And so I feel like if you can get that kind of organic growth that comes from people who are resonating with you, those are people who are going to be around for the long haul. Do you remember Indigo Stars? Do you remember an ASMR artist named Indigo Stars?
I don't think I do, no.
So she was somebody who would do tons of role plays, like always doing role plays, and she did a really good job and was very, very consistent with it. She never got over, I don't remember how many subscribers it was. It was not that many, and her growth was very slow, but very sort of intentional, I want to say, or measured. And I remember going to her Patreon, and her ratio of like patrons to subs was like one patron for every 5 or 6 subs, which is amazing, right? Like that's great, right? I'm nowhere near that, right? And I feel like that comes when you have people who are really engaged with what you are doing. And you also, I mean, obviously, if you're doing more work to deliver more value to people who become your patrons, right? That's part of it too, right?
The issue I think I'm facing, or something I know I struggle with my channel, is that I get a lot of comments, and I think it reflects the fact that a lot of followers, some really see me as like a pretty face doing ASMR, you know, it's really reductive, and I have so many comments on my appearance and face and all that, and it's definitely making me uncomfortable. But I think that for a lot of followers, they're not really that interested in anything else apart from the nice girl, you know, whispering to them. And maybe that's why I definitely don't have that ratio with Patreon and all, but I of course have like a strong, smaller community of people really being here whatever I do. Even, you know, on Saturday I was hosting like a music live stream, and some people were there. Lisela was there. And I know some people will always be there, but I feel like there's a lot of people who don't really care that much about what I do apart from the ASMR videos.
You were hosting something to do with so your partner is a musician, is that correct?
Yeah,
right.
yes.
So you were hosting something to do with your partner's music? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was actually a release party. So I don't know if you know them, but we've been really inspired by a subculture party, which is basically like some kind of festive Zoom meetings, which is like one or two musicians doing a DJ set of like hyperpop music. And you can see like
hyperpop is that like power pop? I don't even know.
It's like a new kind of pop, but like campier and funnier and not to be taken too seriously.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's like some sort of like a virtual party people go to, and we were really inspired by that because it felt really festive, you know, and almost like you were at a concert together. And we were kind of wanting to recreate that for the EP that my partner was releasing. So they contacted a lot of other artists and musicians they really love. And these made a music video for the stream. And it was amazing. We had a great time, and it was like really like we were at a concert with friends, basically. So it was an amazing thing.
Doesn't Zoom have some cap on the number of people, though, or something like that?
Well, we didn't do quite as they do in the subculture party because we had like pre-recorded videos. So I was hosting and there were the videos and that's it. We didn't see in live other people. But in subculture, they do have like webcams of participants and viewers as well.
But is what you did you do that on Zoom or did you Twitch?
It was on Twitch. It was on Twitch with OBS.
Okay.
And I was like presenting and talking about with the chat and doing a bit of ASMR. And we had like the music videos also. That's
how was it fun? Did it go over well?
It was amazing. I had the greatest time. And also I knew some artists, but not all of them. It was amazing to see what they made for this specific event. It was really nice because the vibe was pretty lo-fi, so people recorded live sessions, but like in their home or on their bed, and it felt really like, yeah, you were having fun and having like a musician friend doing a song for you. It was amazing.
Well, I'm about to show how little I know about Twitch, right?
Okay.
Is it something that people can see now, or is it was just like one and done? Like,
I'm gonna have to check, but there's the video still available, but I'm not sure it's gonna be available for too long. So,
is there something people could search for on Twitch if they wanted to see that?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna find the link and put it in the chat.
That would be awesome. That would be a really good.
But we had a great time. Well, it was mostly in French, but the music was, you can still enjoy the music.
Well, and I've definitely, and everybody has talked about this before, but like, one of the things that has been interesting about the pandemic has been the new ways and the new and interesting and inventive ways that people have had to sort of bend over backwards to kind of come up with new methods of entertainment and sort of new venues to that are meant to simulate maybe more traditional experiences, but then you find out like maybe in some ways they're better, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like the whole work from home experience, and you know we've heard for 30, 40 years that, soon everyone's going to be able to work from home. It's not going to matter where you are, right? Like, and that never really caught on. And this was sort of a forcing mechanism that has forced a lot of companies to sort of move the bar forward where they wouldn't have otherwise, just because the status quo is always easier, right? So I'm always very interested in the kinds of things that you're talking about. I sometimes take part in these plays that a friend of mine, Leah Evans, writes and puts on Sunday nights, and she does other things other nights. But basically, it's like write a play in 24 hours or write a play in like 2 days, and then have a bunch of people on Zoom performing it, and then stream it live, like that kind of thing. Okay. And there's all sorts of interesting things kind of come out of that, right? That wouldn't in any other medium, and obviously it's a sacrifice, right? It's not a net gain, because it still would be better to be able to do both, right? The ideal situation would be you can go to live stuff some nights. On nights when you don't feel like going out, you can do this other thing. This other thing wouldn't exist necessarily without the forcing function of like people can't really be going out that much anymore. So I actually think it's pretty cool whenever there's any kind of like new or boundary being pushed, or sort of a set of rules for what is a concert or like a play, or how entertainment is being presented in a virtual way. So I would love to see it. I'm guessing a lot of people watching would love to see that too.
Well, I've put the link in the chat.
Okay.
So someone will find it back for you.
Oh, it says, I'm sorry. Q says only mods can post the links. She's going to try and find the link real quick. I'm sorry, Q.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I misgendered Q. They're going to find the link really quick. Channel of Bruit Blanc.
Bruit Blanc. Bruit Blanc.
Can you say it once more?
Bruit Blanc. Bruit.
Yep, that word.
Blanc.
Bruit Blanc. I'm terrible at that.
It's okay. It's not easy.
Okay, so I think. Good night, Shells. Thank you for coming by. I think Q is going to try and put that link if they can. So you mentioned that like you have like people who are like, oh, here's a pretty face, right? Like that's sort of a thing in ASMR is like, right, like there was this sort of early notion of the people who are successful at ASMR. Oh, it's only
she's a pretty girl. So
yeah, women who are traditionally attractive, who come on and whisper in like some not sexual but intimate way, right? Like a way that you wouldn't normally interact with somebody if it was not an intimate setting, via whispering or whatever it is. Do you feel the same way for people who are like? Because I know that because we talked before, I know it's like the majority of your audience is American. Is that correct?
And mostly men as well, like 75% men, and I have no idea why. I don't feel like I'm doing. Same for you.
Same for me. But my demo on the Phoenician Sailor channel versus here, totally different. Like it's mostly men, and it's mostly U.S. men for Phoenician Sailor. For this channel, it's mostly UK and Europe, and I think it's more female than male. So it's very strange. I don't know how to account for that discrepancy. But so your demo is largely male and largely American.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think maybe the American part is like the French accent. There's something about the French accent that Americans find fascinating, right? I mean, whether you say it's like it's just kind of intrinsically compelling, right? Because it's like a new way of
exotic.
Hearing. Yeah, exotic, which sounds horrible, kind of to say.
No, but you get it. Yeah, it's unusual, basically.
Unusual, yeah, and it's also very lyrical. Like I find, or melodic. I'm sorry, not lyric. I guess lyrical is kind of a good way to put it too, but melodic, in that there is sort of a cadence that I know, like certain, like I think Argentinians kind of have that. Like they'll go like, instead of someone from Brazil might say calmate, but an Argentinian might go like calmate, right? Like kind of there's a bit of a lilt to the cadence of how they speak, that is, I think, intriguing to people like Americans who just kind of speak in this sort of base, sort of monotonous way, right? But do you feel, so if someone were to say to you, well, I listen to you because I find your voice extremely interesting and calming, right? That doesn't affect you in the same way as someone saying, I listen to you because I find your face calming.
It's not the same, because the thing is that it's also about numbers, and about when I post even just a picture of myself, I know I'm gonna have like a lot and maybe too much, comments from mostly men I don't know, telling me how attractive they think they are. And I think the issue is about these people letting me know that they find me attractive, and please don't, it makes me really uncomfortable, especially since I've been questioning about where I feel like I am regarding my gender, and being always being reminded that I'm like pretty woman all the time is weird to me, and I would rather not have this kind of attention. But just by existing, no matter the video I do, I'm gonna have these comments, because I'm gonna show, even if it's just my hand, some people just really can sexualize your hand. So no matter what I do, I'm gonna have these comments.
People can sexualize anything, man. That is really, it's sad, and I know it can. Well, I'm guessing, right? I don't experience that, certainly not to the level that you do. And on behalf of American men, I apologize, and I feel like we're generally, American men are particularly.
It's the same in
horrible.
France. It's not just the US.
So yeah, I think you mentioned that too. Like French, the ideas in France about like men, almost like catcalling women. It's almost like acceptable there still, or.
Well, it's not as acceptable as it used to be, but there really are like two mentalities, like the traditional way, which is like people saying that it's fine, it's flirty, it's not anything you should be hating, it's normal and should be, taking it as a compliment, basically. And a lot of people think that way. But now more like the younger generation, or actually part of it, is starting to find out that maybe not, maybe it's not okay to, ask anyone to smile all the time.
That's smile more. You have such a pretty smile. That is like one of the most.
Please don't.
Even me, like hearing that is like, oh my God, that is really, really. It's just there's so much wrong with it, like on a whole bunch of different levels, and one of those levels is how easy it is to sort of justify. But I'm just asking someone to smile, right? Like that whole.
No big deal. It's not. I think the issue is the same with the comments, like the overall positive comment about my appearance. Telling me I'm beautiful. It's fine if it's one, But when it's every day and it's unasked for, and it's having all of these people giving unwanted opinions all the time. That's the issue, Especially with the catcalling, can be dangerous. It's not exactly the case when I'm sitting over there, but it's still not quite pleasing for me.
Right. And so you mentioned that you're in a phase, or you're in a state where you're kind of questioning and sort of doing self-discovery. I guess would be to kind of figure out who you are, right? Like is on a fundamental sort of level, that includes, like, when you're figuring out who you are, that includes gender too, right? I mean, that's it's a whole process, and it's certainly not something that the whole assigned at birth kind of mentality caters to, or like supports, but it doesn't make it any less true. So what pronouns do you use? Can I?
Currently, it's like any. She, they, he is fine with me. I would say that she is what I mostly get from people, but they is maybe the one I'm most comfortable with. I don't feel like I can demand any pronouns to anyone at the moment, so any is fine with me.
Is the reason you don't feel like you can demand that because you're still kind of figuring it out, or? Figuring
it out, but also I feel like I'm really cis-passing, and I look very like a normal woman, I would say, in a way, and I don't think that I've given enough to people to even, you know, realize that I'm not just a cis woman, you know, not questioning any of that. And I have a tendency to maybe present as I think people expect me to present, and in my videos I feel like sometimes I like portray a person I'm not exactly, and I feel like I'm go ahead. Sorry.
But that's a person you're portraying, right? Like you're not, you are not Behind the Moons, right? Like Behind the Moons is can be someone totally different than who you are, right? So that, but I understand, like, people would then conflate, like, you know, especially if it's not, if you don't come on and say, I'm role playing this person right now, right? But I think I'm following what you're saying, in that in your videos you present in a particular way, and then because it's not like really clear, like, okay, this is me, this is not me, this is the person that I'm presenting as Behind the Moons, people just blur the line and just assume you're the same person that is in every one of your videos, right?
And it's difficult. I can't exactly. I know it's going to be difficult for anyone, you know, even myself. I watch channels and it's easy, you know, to feel like you know the person even though you really don't. And I get why people would think that way.
That's the weirdest. And I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do think that, like, it's so bizarre, and it's particularly bizarre with ASMR because the behavior being modeled in ASMR is intimate by definition almost, right? Like, even if you're just speaking softly, like even Bob Ross was intimate. That was like, it felt like he was right there and he was giving you all of his attention, right? He was just like, and that kind of got that sort of like, you almost get hypnotized by it, because here's this person who, you know who Bob Ross is, right? I'm sorry.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I make ASMR, so I
I just
know
wanted to
Bob
be
Ross.
sure that I didn't know if it was international or not. But so it's inherently kind of intimate, but it is completely one-sided, right? And you had that problem with musicians. You had that problem with, like, people interpreting music as being, like, aimed at them. And you have the same problem, probably magnified even more, right? And if what you're experiencing right now is your audience is largely American men, I don't know what the age group is, but
Older than me.
older than you. So that's,
That's like, okay.
I don't know what to say about that. That's, you know, I listen to you because of your voice, if that makes
It's okay, it's fine.
but I cannot speak for my my fellow American men, and I apologize on the behalf of American men everywhere.
But basically, I often on Twitter and other social media, I talk about or retweet things about parasocial relationship, because I think that's really a big issue. Especially, it can actually be dangerous for women, you know, with stalkers and people just not respecting your boundaries, and it's really difficult for people to understand that we are not actually friends and we don't actually know each other. And even though they may be watching my videos for years, I don't know them at all. I may recognize, like, their name, but that's it. And sometimes some people can really get overboard with what they think the relationship is.
Especially if, like, as they're watching your videos, they it's inevitable. Like, there's, you know, I don't know how many hours of me talking, right? Like, and using me as an example, just because I don't want to use you as an example, but using me as an example, right? So there's hundreds of hours of me talking and revealing things about my personal life, and, like, what I like and what I don't like, and what I do and the things that I don't do, and so many things that you would only find out about me through regular channels if we were very close friends, right? Or partners, right? So it's very, and I'm certainly very sensitive to that. Like, it's I almost feel like men have it very, or much easier in that regard, when in this in this realm, right? We have far less to worry about when it comes to one of these situations turning dangerous.
Yeah, and I even just regarding the work that you put out in your video, I feel like I envy you for people realizing the work and everything you do with the light and the setup and everything. And I feel like whenever I put out my best videos, I'm gonna have comments on my face, and my hair, and not everything that's around. And
that has to
come
be frustrating.
on.
Yeah, that must be so frustrating. Yeah, that
Really,
sucks.
sometimes I feel like I'm just a pretty face, and I'm not like editing the videos and thinking them out and making everything come to life. And it's a shame.
Are you able to put that aside? Do you think like, is it running you down? Like, is it going to be something where, do you feel like you can, like, you're able to kind of stand up to that and just be like, well, F you, not F you, right? But, sort of, keep saying this crap, whatever. I don't know if you can filter or you filter comments on your channel or whatever that you can do to kind of cut down on that until people are really like kind of acknowledging the amount of work that you're putting into your videos, which I know is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who looks at it knows it's huge, or who knows anything about what goes into making a video, they know that it's huge. But a lot of people who are just kind of surfing and going from channel to channel or whatever, they might just click on it and then they don't know. And then they might actually think that, well, a lot of them, I know for a fact that they think that they're like, oh, she'll really appreciate it if I say you are pretty.
Yeah, it's a compliment,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so you call it a parasocial relationship, right? So that
it's linked to that. Yeah, it's not just that, because for some people they just see a pretty girl and they're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna compliment her, she's gonna be happy about this, and I really don't think it comes from a bad place at all, but maybe it comes from a disconnect between what some men think a compliment is and what some women feel when they receive such compliments.
Right, there's a complete disconnect there, right?
And I know it's not meant to be mean or anything, but it just gets a lot, and it makes me want to not be perceived at all sometimes. And it's difficult, when you make ASMR videos, because you're gonna have this feedback on your body every day.
Did you have a period at the beginning of your channel where you didn't reveal your face?
Maybe for one video, and that's it. But actually, I used to be way nicer with the comments I would get. I would get such things, and even maybe creepier or weirder comments, and I would be like taking them as a compliment because I knew it was a compliment in the head of the viewer, the commenter. And at some point I took a break and didn't film for like months or maybe a year. And when I came back, I didn't film my face for like a couple of videos because I didn't quite feel comfortable enough, And I would have like comments of people telling me they would like to see my face, and it felt a bit creepy to me to have that many people asking to specifically see my body,
right.
Even though it's just my face, it's part of my body.
Right. Because I know there was like a period where there were a lot of people doing ASMR videos who were not showing their face.
Yeah.
For that explicit purpose, especially when ASMR was more stigmatized than it is now, and people just didn't want anyone knowing that they were doing ASMR videos. I don't know that it was really tied at that point to, but I can't say for sure because I'm a male, right? So I don't know. But I think it was almost more like, even when I started first making videos, I wore masks. Like I didn't reveal who I was because I was afraid of being made fun of, right? And that was 2014 or either early 2014 or late 2013, something like that. And back then ASMR was, I got introduced to ASMR via someone making a joke about it and saying, oh, look at this funny thing, look at this funny person who's doing this ridiculous stuff. And but of course, when I saw it, I was hooked, right? I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah. And this is helping with my anxiety. And I guess there's a danger there because you have people pushing away the very thing that like maybe is helping them, right? By focusing on the wrong part. And I feel like we're very, like, no one wants to admit to being racist. No one wants to admit to being sexist at their core. People want to say all these things are created either or are either genetic or are either systemic or learned behavior. But there's something to be said for the fact that, like, for instance, I mean, like, this is totally out of left field, right? But like whales, when they meet, right, they have dialects, right? And if there's a whale from one part of an ocean who runs into another whale from another part of the ocean, they'll send signals to each other to know if they're in the same pod or from the same region, and they will behave differently if they aren't, from the same region, right? So I feel like on some level, like, even if, like, let's say xenophobia and misogyny, like, I don't know what the truth is, but let's say xenophobia and misogyny we inherit those at birth. I don't know that that's true. Like, I don't know. It's probably, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Like, some of it is, there's some part of our brain that through evolution was like, if something is not like us, we have to be afraid of it, right? Like, and then there's also, like, as you're being raised by your parents, and they're either reinforcing that notion or they're disavowing you of that notion. And you have a period where, in your childhood particularly, where you're prone to sort of be able to absorb those ideas and integrate them and use your cerebral cortex, right, like your higher brain functions, to kind of teach your lower brain functions what is the actual way of the world and not what you were presented with via evolution, which is evolution can't move quickly enough to keep up with the pace of the world, right? So even if misogyny was something that was ingrained in males at birth, we have the ability to learn to adjust our behavior, and should be that's something that everybody should be doing, right? And maybe there are cases where people are doing it and they're just failing, but it does feel like more like just people are just, this is just the way I am, and that's just it, right? Like, or they'll say, like, well, the system did this to me and that's the way I am. And instead of trying to go back all the way to the root cause and address it from there, whatever that root cause is, but being open-minded about what that root cause could be, I suppose. That was a big tangent. I'm sorry. I didn't, I don't even know what
was the question?
Yeah. I don't know what the question was. It was
just if I can say something. My battery is going to be running out on my camera. So is that okay with you if we do a short break and I change the battery and we can go again?
Let's do that. If you're up for a few more minutes of talking, let's do that.
Definitely. Okay. Should I be hanging up and coming back?
Yeah. You just hang up, and whenever you're done, call back in.
Okay, be right back.
Okay, so Behind the Moons will be calling back in a moment. Oh, look at this, Grace. That is a great quote. Men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them. Wow. Damn. Oh gosh. Well, look, it's like when you're in a flow, right? A flow state, right? My mind's gonna go a lot of different places. I don't necessarily control the places that it's going to go, or at least I'm not aware of them, and I try not to stifle them. I'm totally aware that they could be completely wrong and misguided, and I may regret saying them. But yeah, I've been a huge Behind the Moons fan for a long time, so it's a pleasure having her on. Oh, excuse me. There's a lot of talking going on. I'm losing my. I actually feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit. Let's see what people are saying. Oh, I don't like that. I'm not going to switch to Twitch, I don't think. I think that's more like because of the Jordan Peterson look at lobsters, look at how lobsters behave. Everything needs to be evaluated on its own merits. what I said a minute ago even kind of contradicts what I said at the start of this podcast. So I don't know, like we just got to kind of roll with it and see what happens. Because it could either be right or wrong. Oh, she's back. That was quick.
Yeah. Okay.
I get a lot of. Do you know who Jordan Peterson is?
I've heard the name, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, good. He's a piece of shit. He's just somebody that people say that I look like a bunch, and in making a whale comparison, he made in his book, The 12 Rules for Life, or 12, something like that, was making comparison with like human and lobster behavior to sort of justify gender norms. And it was annoying, and I don't want to tread into that territory. I guess I was just trying to say that, like, it doesn't really matter where those elements come from, because whether they're ingrained or whether they're taught, as humans, we're the ones.
We're not just animals.
Exactly.
We should be able to, behave and.
This is
not
what
be
differentiates
dicks, yeah.
us from lobsters and even whales, right? I know whales are hyper intelligent, right? But we should be able to alter our own behavior and know what's right and what's wrong. It kind of goes back to like that question of, would you rather be around somebody who is a serial killer but doesn't really feel it, like his heart's not really in it, or somebody who is like always wanting to kill people but manages to repress the urge, right? Like, if you had to pick one of those people to be around, which would you pick? It's not a good choice. You want to be alone, I think.
Yeah, I'd rather not choose.
So let's see. I don't know where we left off. I don't want to. We talked about Furbies already.
Yeah, we've done that. Yeah.
We covered Furbies. We covered films. We covered Joss Whedon's an asshole. Jordan Peterson's an asshole.
Yeah,
we got some gender identity talk going in there. We talked about your period away. Is there anything you wanted to talk about, or anything you wanted to bring up, or?
Well, just a few things I thought about, but I didn't quite manage to say it at the right time.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. But for example, at the very beginning, when you were talking about when I got the new lights and I started doing like different visuals and stepping up regarding that, it's funny because I actually got a grant, 1,000 euros to buy these lamps, and I had like to do a presentation and say basically what the business I do was about and my inspiration and why I needed basically the money to buy the equipment. And back then I gave 2 examples of visuals I would like to have, and basically I said that ideally what I would like to do is like a crossover between Slide Sounds videos and yours. I was like, I want your visual, but I was like, I want also like something a bit more low-key as well, and try to find the crossing between the two. And
So
maybe I succeeded, maybe not.
Well, did you get the money?
I did, and that's kind of thanks to you that I had the light. So thank you.
I wish I could take credit for that. So you had to present to a board, a person, like, was it
a presentation? Yeah, so like PowerPoint stuff.
That sounds horrible.
In front of, it's not the best, but the good thing is that I did a lot at my previous jobs and even as a student, so I'm okay with doing presentations.
But it was in front of like a board of people who were going to decide if it was valid or not.
Exactly, yeah.
And then they decided it was valid.
Yeah, but the worst case is that I was supposed to like show like a 3-year plan of how much money I think I could be able to make in order to prove that it's sustainable and I can live off of this activity. And it was so hard because I've never been like a full-time YouTuber before, and I had no idea. So it was like really kind of...
Do you think that exercise helped you actually crystallize what your plan was going to be? Like, do you think that in the end doing that might have given you a leg up?
Maybe, yeah, in a way, for like the where I wanted to go regarding my videos, because I came back in 2020 from a big break, so I knew I wanted to really focus on it and improve my videos. But like, before doing this presentation, I didn't quite know how I could be improving, and what I would like to focus on. And I've known for a long time that I was really interested in photography, and there's been a lot of photographs who inspired me regarding the visuals of my video, and I get a lot of inspiration from them. And this is why I knew I wanted to go with like studio lights and not just ring light or basic YouTuber lighting, very flat. So this is why I knew I wanted to go the other way.
Yeah, flat lighting. So I remember when, Heather Feather, I think Heather Feather might have been like one of the ASMR pioneers of the ring light, because I remember there was a period where she was just getting all these comments about, how did you get that circular catch light in your eye? And like nobody
That's
knew what
the
a
ring
ring
light.
light was, right? And then everybody has a ring light all of a sudden, and everybody's face is perfectly like, I'm not, I don't want to use myself as like an example of like something that, like right now you have very pleasing like highlights on your face. I have like a super hot spot right here on my nose, which is because I'm too close to my main key light. Where is that light coming from? It must be
Yeah,
my key
I actually
light.
remember like maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, like sometimes you posted like behind the scenes pictures, and I would love them, because then I would be like, okay, so a light there, that kind. What's that thing? I love behind the scene pictures of other creators, and I love to watch them. Or even with photographers, I really like the work of. Sometimes I zoom in the eyes of the model to see like what's going on where.
I have
Yeah.
a thing for, and I know this is like a largely American thing, but I have a thing for like pictures of Route 66, which is a sort of an old highway that runs across the United States, or a part of the United States. And you just see all of these basically rundown businesses, hotels, car graveyards, but like, there's something so like romantic about a lot of the photographers that will go on to Route 66 and make these images. I think if I wish I knew more about photography. Apart from, I do take like something from like painters. Like, I don't know do you know Edward Hopper?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the way that his pictures are lit, or he lights his paintings, I look at that stuff and I'm just like, oh, that is so beautiful. Like you gotta have a green light, and then you gotta have like, I felt like he was doing things. And then Wim Wenders, who is a German director who did Paris, Texas, and So Far Away, So Close. I remember I would watch all his movies over and over again with commentaries where he would talk about, and he would basically say, you're never supposed to use a fluorescent light when you're exposing on film. So I made sure that all I used were fluorescent lights, right? Like he just went totally the opposite way of what you were supposed to do, and created these images and he was also fascinated with the American Midwest, and Paris, Texas is sort of one of the movies that is part of his like love story with that region. And it's just like I said, like old rundown motels with fluorescent lighting, and the sort of, their signs would be like bright green and just really burning in the background, and then pinks, and then just sort of a lot of areas in deep shadow, that kind of chiaroscuro kind of effect. I find that like I lean on, no matter what I do, it seems like what looks good to my eye ends up always being my face being orange and the background being blue or teal, right? As much as I try to break away from that, and I do try to break away from that, it seems to be that's what I fall back on. I don't think you have that problem.
No, but I actually have my comfort zone where I'm just in my living room with the natural daylight, and even though I try to add, a bit more like a hair light or something else, to improve, I tend to do a lot of these, bright ASMR videos, and maybe I should try to play more with the lights and do darker visuals, but I don't think I've finished, experimenting with the lights at all, because there are so many things I haven't tried yet.
I'm seeing the reflection of what looks like either grid lights or a lot of point lights in your glasses?
Yeah, it's like a Christmas light I've put
Okay.
on my wall there, so it's like a nice addition. But I have like this LED panel, and I've done like a
look at
nice. Oh. And I've cut the black piece 2 days ago because I was trying to do like shadows or like a more natural looking light with this LED panel, and I have just a light facing the white wall, so bouncing back on me. So it's like the lo-fi light setting for the stream, and all. It's not like the big studio light or anything.
So the €1,000 wasn't for that.
It's not there. It's not there.
It wasn't the Christmas lights, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's one of the areas that I'm still right now like sort of really interested in is ellipsoidal lights, right? Like I haven't done much with them. I only have one, but lights that can have so what you showed me just then. So the problem with that, as I understand it, is the light is not focused at the point that it's hitting the what I assume is cinemafoil or cinefoil or something like that.
No, it's really like black thick paper.
Oh, okay. So yeah, sometimes people will use cinefoil or whatever it is, right?
But it's not as thin. No, it's not.
Okay, but if the light's not focused at that point, then you won't really get a crisp projection of that image where you want it. Like, so you can make it look like there's window blinds kind of falling on you. And that, to me, is I think sort of the last frontier for me for lighting. And then I'm just going to say, no more, right? Like I gotta like draw a line somewhere. But I do want to there's like this ellipsoidal mini zoom light that takes gobos that you can put in. Gobos are basically, I don't know if you know what gobos are. I don't know.
No.
So gobos are standardized filmmaking shapes cut into round pieces of metal. And essentially you'll have your light, and then you'll have your focusing zoom that attaches to the light. And the gobo goes in the middle. And the focuser makes sure that the light focuses at the point where the gobo exists. So essentially it's just a projector for an image. But that image is just light and shadow. So whatever you see on your gobo, if it's like a tree leaves or if it's,
nice.
Yeah, you can focus. There's actually a focuser on the end. You can have it be super crisp on the wall, on your face. You can, throw it out of focus a little bit. There's some really cool ones that look like, little, almost like flower shapes, but when you throw them out of focus, they start to overlap in like weird ways, and you just get like vortices of light, and you can do all kinds of stuff. And then you can cut them, so you just have like a band going across your eyes or whatever it is. So that's sort of the last frontier for me, is trying to get an ellipsoidal setup so I can do more with that. But then after that, like I feel like I have to draw a line and say, look, this is not...
It's never done, you never really finish,
Do you feel...
Especially with the new technology, if you spend a bit of time, checking what brands are doing and putting out, or the other way, if you study like what was being used like maybe 50, 80 years ago, you're never going to stop,
Yeah, I guess, do you feel happy with your setup now? Like, or do you feel like, oh no, I still gotta improve? Like,
I'm always going to improve, and I'm happy with the quality of my videos currently. I've had also a new microphone recently, so the sound is better. The visual is definitely better as well, but I always want to do new things. And maybe the issue right now is that I'm living in maybe a small apartment, so I don't really have like a room to do anything. So every time I have to put the setup and hide everything away later on. Yeah, and it takes a lot of time and energy.
Such a pain.
Yes, I would love to have like a separate room where I could really like experiment more and not being like pressed to take everything away by the end of the day, basically.
Well, I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or worse, but like when I was in the position that you're in, I was doing a lot more. Like I was up, I would wait until everyone went to bed, and then I would like be from like midnight till 3 a.m. I'd be shooting a video, and then I'd take everything down, right? And now I'm in a position where basically I could set stuff up. I have a whole bunch of places where I could set stuff up, and I just don't have the motivation. Like I just don't. Like it's weird. I feel like it's kind of a lot of that has left me in a way, and I don't know what happened or how or why, and I don't know how to get it back.
I hate to link it to numbers, but I feel like whenever you reach 100
You're
followers,
right.
you're done. What
right.
else is there?
But I can't believe you just said that, because like
It's true.
I remember when I got the thing, I was like, well, I'm never going to hit
Okay.
1 million. So what's the point? I might as well just be like, all right, what I set out to do is done. Oh man.
You've done amazing videos. Like, it's okay. You can stop if you want.
I can
to.
die now. I can. That I do. There's a lot of people out there right now. Like there's Atlas and Made in France ASMR. Lots and lots of people who are doing Moonlight Cottage. I don't know if you've seen any of her work. Doing incredible stuff. The kind of stuff that there were only a couple of people doing 3 or 4 years ago. You know, like there was Goodnight Moon was doing stuff like that. There were a couple other people who were really going all out. But now there are so many people who are going all out. All these people who have, a lot of them are cinema, like Maxence, Made in France ASMR is a cinematographer, right? And he does this, like he's brilliant with what he does, but there's just like, I can't compete with that. You know, it's just like, you know, this is something I do. Like I have a book, you know, on lighting that I read, and you know,
You're not supposed to compete with that. And I know that for myself, I love to watch some of these creators, but also I love Lofi ASMR, like stuff filmed with a phone and with like the worst microphone. And I love these videos. At some
It's
point,
true.
ASMR is not about, you know, making the most professional video ever. You know, it can be, but it's not all that. It's not just that.
it's almost like songwriting, right? Like if, you know, if you have a song that only sounds good if you have an orchestra playing it, but it doesn't sound good if it's just like you and a guitar, then maybe it's not such a good song, right? Like, like your song has to be good wherever, it has to be fundamentally sound. And then, you know, if that means having a video that's fundamentally sound, and then you could build a whole bunch of shit on top of it if you want and make it one way, or you could just do nothing with it and it's still going to be, the content is going to be what's important. That's then I think you've hit on something there. But you really kind of made me, you kind of took the wind out of me when you said the 100,000 thing, because
That's the reason.
I kind of feel like, yeah, you might be right, which makes me feel like horribly vapid and just kind of like
No. I mean, to me, the thing is the trophy. You know, you've did it. Is basically what it says. You know, you've earned it, and you've done so much, and it's like really good to have that checkpoint to, you know, realize how far you've come. But yeah, then what's left to do now? Basically, is a good question after this.
Yeah, because 1 million just seems absolutely unattainable.
No,
right?
that's so big.
But based on your growth in the last year, so you'll be at 100,000, you know, by the end of the year, easy, right?
I'm not sure really. I think I gain like 2,000 followers every month currently.
That's
So
a
it's
great
gonna take a
rate.
while. It's already big, you know, but it's not gonna be like 100 at the end of the year. And once again, I'm not really planning on doing everything I can to grow as fast as possible, because I could be, you know, really focusing on blockbusters videos and things people want to see, and, you know, words people are gonna type with ASMR to find the
Right.
video, and that I'm happy with doing like a bit of everything, you know, and going and doing different things sometimes.
Are you? What are your thoughts? This is the last. It's getting late, so I want to wrap up if we can. But I do have one last kind of quick topic that is. It's like a can of worms, and maybe okay. What are your thoughts on? Let me think about this before I say it. So sexual ASMR is a thing, right? There is definitely like people who specifically do ASMR that is sexually oriented. And it's meant to be that way. That's the intent of the creator. Then there is ASMR that is explicitly non-sexually oriented. Sometimes there are ASMR videos where the line is a little bit blurred. And I guess I'm wondering what your thoughts are on, do you feel that sexual ASMR is fine as long as the person who's creating it, that's their intent? And do you feel like it has an effect on, like a negative effect on ASMR as a whole? And then the third, well, let's start with those two. Like, I'm curious about.
Well, it's funny because every time I do this type of like interview
You get the same thing.
I get always a question about what do you think of like other creators maybe showing more of their body or making something like more sensual, sexual, and
Right.
every time I'm like, I'm okay with this because we're on the internet. There's gonna be a sexy version of
Yep.
anything, and I'm fine with that. And for people, sometimes people say, "Oh, I've had comments like that telling me, oh, it's a shame that there are so many like ASMR artists making sexy videos because then the good creators, the one not being sexualizing themselves, don't get as much recognition." But to me, maybe the viewers are not the same. Some people are looking for something specific they will not be finding in my channel, and I'm happy that if they want something sexual, they are not on my channel for that because I'm not doing that.
But-
And yeah.
There's also this thing there that like anything, like we were saying earlier, like anything can be sexualized, right? Like, so the idea that like I'm only creating stuff that is non-sexual, well, there are people who think that that is sexual, right?
Of course.
So there's really like, it's almost, I guess here's what it is. I used to have this kind of chip on my shoulder about ear eating, right?
Okay.
So you're familiar with ear eating, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, look, if you're doing ear eating, you have to expect that people are going to think that that's sexual. Regardless of if that's your intent or not, right? Somebody like the reproducing the idea of somebody sucking on your ears, that's inherently sexual. How can you say that that's not sexual, right? Like I used to have that.
Has there really been ASMR artists doing eating and saying it's absolutely not sexual? Are they not?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But here's the thing that I've, and this comes with growth, right? As a person, like I've run into people, lots of people who are like, ear eating is my favorite ASMR to listen to, and it's not sexual at all, and it puts me right to sleep. So, like, I can't. At that point, I'm just like, okay, then my argument is invalid, and I have to change the way that I think about this stuff.
To me, it doesn't really matter if the viewer sees it as something sexual or not. Regarding, I'm mainly putting myself in the shoes of the creator here, and as long as the creator, is being super clear about what they are producing and what it is for them, according to them, is it sexual in the eyes of the creator or not? And then the viewers just have to respect that, and no matter how they use the video later on, because you can't really expect people to what you want them to do with the videos. I'm sure people have been using my videos for like ungodly purposes or whatnot.
Ungodly.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Rituals.
Yes, but you can't tell people what to do with your videos,
Right.
And I get why some people just like the trigger and fall asleep to it, and sometimes I watch new creators I don't know before. Like I recently found out about Pickle ASMR, I think, who has also lots of amazing lights. Pickle, like a pickle.
Pickle. I don't know. I'll have to check it out.
Well, she's. I love her visuals especially and her sounds, and she does ear eating. And sometimes when I was checking a channel, I saw one of these videos, and it's not my favorite trigger, but I can listen to it and find the ASMR appeasing side of it. And I get why some people would listen to it without finding it sexual, but I get why for this specific trigger it can be like a bit in the middle,
Yeah, it's sort of ambiguous, right? But then there's also that whole, you get into that whole sort of death of the author kind of idea where like once an artist creates something or a creative creates something and puts it out into the world, they no
Yeah.
longer own it or can dictate what it means, right? It is to be interpreted by the consumer, right? So if to a consumer it connotes something that the artist didn't intend, the artist can say, well, that wasn't my intention, but there is at least that school of thought that says that, well, the person viewing it, their viewpoint is just as legitimate as the creator's viewpoint. And there are, there are tons of examples of like movies and songs that are like meant to be interpreted one way and they're totally misinterpreted. And the Vox Populi says that this song means this, and the artist is like, that's not what I meant when I did this, but it's too late, right? At that point, it's like the horses already got out, and you're closing the barn door behind him or the gate behind him.
To me, the one real issue about sexualized ASMR would be when some people comment on often small channels about this one specific idea they have about this specific video they would like the creator to make, which
That's
often is used, for really sexual purposes, but they're never going to say it clearly.
No.
And for some creators, especially young ones, just wanted to please the audience, are going to do it, and they're never going to know it's used for that one purpose. So to me, that's the worst thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen comments like that where it's like,
so many.
could you do one? Could you do a video where feet would be a big one, right? But that's really obvious. But there are ones that are much more innocuous or seemingly innocuous than that, where it's just like, why are you asking me to do this really specific thing, and then you have to wonder what that means to that person. It's a very the world is a very broad canvas, right? And there's a lot of different people and a lot of different ideas of what is sexual or not sexual.
That's interesting what you said about the feet, because I know this is something I have in mind whenever I take a picture for Twitter, Instagram, anything. I'm not going to be showing my feet, and if it was my personal account, I would have no issues showing them. But I know that if I do that, some people are going to use the picture, and I'm going to be on nicefeet.com or whatever the site is called. Yeah, Wikifeet or whatever. And I know that recently I'm to the point where when I know I'm going to film a vertical video and some of my torso is going to be visible, sometimes I wear a binder just because I don't want to show too much of my breast, And it's okay to me because I'm already, sometimes feel more comfortable with a flatter chest. But I'm also doing that because of men watching me. And that's not right,
unfortunate.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And the fact that you know it, and you're censoring yourself based on what you know. I mean, you know that this is what's going to happen, and
I just shouldn't care. I envy the women, just being amazing and posting the best pictures of themselves. Essentially, when I post pictures of myself, it's for people I know and other women, other creators I look up to, and just to have a bond or community. And it's not for all the other unknown men finding me attractive. And I wish I just didn't care about this, but I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be very difficult, I would think, not to care. I guess some people can, and some people are able to detach that way. Something that, when it comes to ASMR creators, I feel like ASMR creators are, by and large, very sensitive people themselves, right? And very sort of, they may have anxiety themselves, they may have depression themselves. They may actually go into this area or be interested in this area because it's sort of a doctor heal thyself kind of mentality. And so I almost feel like, generally, and this isn't always true, obviously, I'm painting with a broad brush here, but I almost feel like it's ASMR artists should be considered generally to be delicate or vulnerable in some way, right? I know it's true for me. It's true for a lot of ASMR artists that I've met. I'm sure it's not true. I know it's not true for everybody, and I don't want to generalize like that. But I do think, just as a whole, it's probably more difficult for ASMR creators to tune out negative voices than it is, say, for your average TikTok sort of superstar, right? Like who's just like getting inundated with these things and is just like doesn't care, right? Doesn't just water off a duck's back, right? I hope I didn't overgeneralize there. I might have, and I apologize for that. But,
It's okay. I'm on TikTok as well. Well, more like as a consumer because I enjoy TikTok. But I feel like no matter what you really do, the kind of content that you do, whenever you start to have like a bit of a following, people tend to see you as a public figure, and they can trash you and say whatever they want about you, and you're not a real person with real feelings anymore. And maybe they are maybe a bit harsh on you, harsher than if they ever met you in real life, but that's part of being on the internet.
Did you happen to catch the Sinead O'Connor clip that I played at the beginning of this?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, she was kind of addressing that same kind of thing, like being the source of venom for speaking truth to power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or being, the target of venom for speaking truth to power. So, wow, we covered a lot, Moons, and I want to thank you for coming on. The only other thing is, so I'd love it if, I don't know if we exactly covered this or not, but is there like a charity that feels close to you? Like it doesn't have, you don't have to know like a specific one, but kind of a charity that, or a charitable cause that you'd like to support, because I want to be sure to like make a donation in your name or your channel's name or whatever to a cause that you support.
Well, I didn't think of one specifically. I didn't really find out one I really wanted to give out to, but yeah, I'm not so sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I mean, think about it, and
okay.
You can just Instagram me or whatever, and then
I'll
I'll
let
do
you know.
from there. Thank you again so much for coming on. You stayed way longer than you needed to. I really appreciate it.
It's 4 a.m. here.
Oh my God, the sun's about to come up.
4 heures.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Are there still French people in the chat, or am I the only one?
I think, Ex-Ava is still here. Wikifeet is a thing. Yeah, I only know about Wikifeet from H3, the H3 podcast, which I
And that's the worst thing, because you can actually look up for like other creators, and for some, they're gonna have a page on Wikifeet, and people like note and give comments about your feed, and
you don't even know
special.
that it's there. It's just like people.
Yeah, if you don't look for it, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I'm there, but I certainly hope not. That'd be bad for everybody involved. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this, and I hope that you don't let the haters get you down, and you have my apologies on the behalf of these sort of Neanderthalic male types that are saying these kinds of things, and I say that like I'm not like I'm separate from them in some way.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, but I want to be separate from them. I try to be separate from them.
But maybe just a quick PSA for anyone in the chat. If you want to compliment like a creator, not just a female creator, but any creator, maybe not focus too much on
physical
the
appearance.
body, physical, anything like that, but maybe like in the work being put, or the creativity, or anything like different, something they actually worked on and put an effort into to make the video or anything, and
more
maybe
the craft.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe you guys already like aware of all that.
I think probably
anyway.
most of the people in this chat are definitely. It seems to be like a very, I want to say, lovely group of people who are very sensitive to those kinds of things. So, except for maybe one, there's one who I won't say their name, but they know who they are. But anyway, okay, so go to sleep if you can. I'm sorry for keeping you up most of the night.
It's okay. I had a great time. Actually, I'm a bit too excited to go to bed right now, so who knows when I'm going to go to sleep.
Oh, man. That sucks. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, frankly, Lisela can tell you, I basically didn't yawn, but when I do ASMR, like yawn all the time, so
but
it's more
yawning's
exciting than my
contagious.
streams.
So if you're doing yawning when you're doing ASMR and someone hears you yawn, then they're going to yawn and it's going to make them go to sleep. And so
Very good.
Yeah.
I'm a great ASMR artist, you know.
Well, I definitely think that you are. So
Thank you.
all right, Moons, thank you very much for this, and I hope we'll talk again because
Yes, we will.
charity from you.
And thank you for inviting me, because you invited me, so thank you for that.
Of course. You were one of the first people that I thought of. So take care and enjoy France, because man, I don't know if you know this, but France is beautiful. It's rolling hills
I can't wait to
everywhere.
get the vaccine. You know, I really want to get the vaccine and move out. Well, not move out, but you know, discover France again and not be stuck in my apartment, because it's nice, it's comfy, but I want to see more now.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Take care.
Okay.
Have a good night, and we'll talk
Yay.
soon. All right. Bye.
Bonne soirée. Bye.
That was great. I really enjoyed that. And thank you all. I know that this is a little bit different. I hadn't expected the conversation to go that long, but it was just, I was compelled and learning a bunch of stuff. And of course, as you all know, going on ridiculous tangents. I didn't get to use this camera. I got to at least just acknowledge that it's there so that it doesn't feel bad. All I'm seeing, like when I'm looking at this image, is this hot spot on my nose, and what the hell? How did I think that was acceptable? You're a softbox. Make your light soft. That's your whole reason for your existence. Yeah, it's the softbox. Not soft enough, buddy. Well, I'm beat. I want to remind everybody about the writing contest. I know like a lot of time has gone by, and I only have, I think, a couple of submissions. Grace's is one of them. But remember, it's, I don't even remember the rules now. I think it's, here are the rules. Let's put the rules up again. Yeah. All stories got to be original. I think it's $200 to one person, and then 3 other people will get $100, and we'll be reading the channel reading the story, possibly reading the story on the Phoenician Sailor channel, and we'll definitely be reading some of the stories here. You can be anonymous, etc., etc. Yeah, you can't unsee the bright spot on my nose. I can't believe that I missed it. Terrible. Let's see. No, that brightens one side of my face, but you're the culprit, and I'm upset at you and I'm not going to bother fixing it now because it won't do any good at this point. It's too late. It's out there, hours of it. It will be fixed for next week. Actually, it's going to be before next week because I am going back into Resident Evil as soon as possible. I'm sorry I was not able to engage with the chat as much this week. But, we'll get back to normal next week. And then the week after, I'll have another guest. And that one will probably be shorter. We'll see how we got to go with the flow a little bit. But anyway, thank you again to Behind the Moons. Wait, what is Nico Q is saying? Leave it until the crunch. Oh, Colorful Dreams is talking in French. Bright spot on my nose. Whales and Wikifeet. Stream's new title. That would be great. I don't know. I don't want to promote Wikifeet like that. But anyway. Still here. So yeah, thank you all again, and I'll see you soon. Probably tomorrow. I can't guarantee it, but probably tomorrow because I want to get through Heisenberg, and I really, really hope Oh, yeah, of course you do. How did I forget that? Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. But yeah, just don't forget about the competition. You still got some time, but I don't want people to leave it too late and then not have time to get done what they want to get done. Anyway, thank you all for hanging out, and I'll see you all soon. Have a good night. My voice needs a rest really bad because this is let's see, gotta do this though. Gotta have a little bit of outro stuff. Here, let's have a little bit of outro. A little bit of outro. Ear touching. Get this brush out. Why are you not as loud? Oh, I think I'm only getting a mono signal in my headphones. That's fine. You guys are hearing it. As long as you guys are hearing it, that's all that matters. Resident Evil 8. Resuming hopefully tomorrow. And hope you all have a great night. And thanks again to Moons for coming by. And talk to you all soon. Good night.